All right, so Texas insurance regulations, licensing requirements. Here's just some general provisions. First, we need to know who is an agent. You would be considered an agent if you were authorized by the insurer or HMO to solicit insurance or annuity contracts. So an agent is somebody that will be soliciting insurance, actually selling it. That's an agent. You would not, see this word not here, be considered an agent if you were a regular salaried officer or employee of the insurance company or agent, and your primary responsibilities do not include soliciting applications for insurance, annuity contracts, or HMO memberships. All right? So you have to directly solicit insurance to be considered an agent. So acts constituting acting as an agent, soliciting insurance on behalf of the insurer. We just talked about that. Receives, other than on the person's own behalf, an application for insurance or an insurance policy to or from the insurer, once again. Advertises or otherwise gives notice that the person will receive or transmit an application for insurance. Once, back to the whole doing applications. Receives or transmits an insurance policy of the insurer. Receives, collects, transmits an insurance premium. Okay? All of those are talking about being an agent. All right, types of licenses. An individual agent license, which you all are going for. Here's the requirement. It's got to be at least 18 years old. Pass the exam within the last 12 months. You must not have committed an act for which the license may be denied, like being a felon. I've noticed they don't like felons very well. And you must have submitted your application, fees, and any other information that the department wants, and voila, you can be an agent. Now, partnerships and corporations are a little different on how they handle licensing. If you're applying for an insurance license for a corporation or partnership that sells insurance policies or accepts applications, TDI will issue a license to a corporation or partnership if the department determines that the company is, and here's, organized under the laws of Texas or another state. So it doesn't have to actually be in Texas, it could be another state. Admitted to engage in business in Texas by the Secretary of State if required. And we'll talk about this admitted later on. Authorized by the company's articles of incorporation or its partnership agreement to act as an agent. Here's what you'll see on your test. Operating with at least one officer or one active partner of the partnership, and all the persons performing acts of agents of the company in Texas are individually licensed by TDI. So, on your test, when it talks about requirements for a corporation, you need to know at least one officer or active partner has to be licensed separately from the company. Okay, that's important for you for your test. The next corporation must be financially capable to pay any amount up to $25,000 that it might become legally or obligated to pay under a claim made against it by a customer. So they have to have a $25,000 bond is what you're going to know. That's what they have to have, at least a $25,000 bond. A corporation or partnership must maintain the ability to pay a claim by obtaining an errors and omissions policy, ensuring the company against errors and omissions in an amount of at least $250,000. So make sure you know errors and omissions has to be at least $250,000 with a deductible of not more than 10% of the full amount of the policy. And then here you go. Here's your bond and the principal amount of $25,000. So those are just some numbers that I know will be on your test. The bond of at least $25,000, errors and omissions of at least $250,000, and with a deductible of not more than 10%. So a deductible of no more than $25,000. All right, non-resident agents. Once you get your agent license, a non-resident agent is an individual who is not a resident of Texas and to whom a license is issued. A non-resident agent has the same rights and privileges as a resident agent. The commissioner may enter into an agreement with other states to implement reciprocal licensing. So we have reciprocal agreements. So it's not just an agent that is licensed in another state that wants to come here and sell insurance. They can get a non-resident license. But you, if you want to sell insurance in any other state, you can get a non-resident agent license for that state because we have these reciprocal licensing agreements that allow this to happen. It is simply a mutual agreement between the states to ensure non-resident licenses to agents in each state using the same non-resident licensing rules. A full-time home office salaried employee of an insurer authorized to engage in the business of insurance in the state is not required to hold a non-resident license. Okay, so a full-time salaried employee, because they're not actually selling it, is not required to have a non-resident license. Next, general lines property and casualty agent. You're required to hold a general lines property and casualty license if you act as an agent who writes property and casualty insurance for an insurer authorized to engage in the business of property and casualty insurance. A sub-agent of a person who holds a license as an agent who solicits and binds insurance for that agent. Or an agent who writes any other kind of insurance for the protection of the insurance consumers of Texas. So property and casualty, auto, homeowners, commercial, things like that. You are not required to hold a general property and casualty license if you hold a license as a personal lines property and casualty agent and limit your activities to those authorized under the scope of your license. In other words, do not solicit or sell insurance products that you are not authorized for under a personal lines insurance license. Don't really care about that for your test, by the way. If you hold a general property and casualty license, you may also write, here's some different types of insurance, job protection. And so this may be important for your test. I feel like I've seen a test question. So job protection insurance, crop insurance, farm and mutual insurance, personal auto, manufactured homes, prepaid legal, industrial fire policies, credit insurance, and health and accident insurance for a property and casualty insurer authorized to sell those insurance products in this state. All right. So those, if you have a property and casualty license, those are other types of insurance that you are allowed to sell. All right. An emergency license. If a property and casualty agent dies and becomes disabled or is found to be insolvent and unable to pay for premiums as they become due to an insurer, TDI, which is the Texas Department of Insurance, may issue to an applicant for a property and casualty agent license an emergency license on the receipt of satisfactory proof to the department that the emergency license is necessary to preserve the agency assets of the deceased, disabled, or insolvent agent. In this situation, the applicant is not required to take a Texas state insurance exam. An emergency license would be valid for 90 days in any 12 consecutive months and may not be renewed by TDI for an additional 90 days during the 12-month period. Okay, so an emergency license, make sure you know it's only good for 90 days. And it is for somebody if an agent dies, becomes disabled, or is insolvent, goes bankrupt. Limited property and casualty agent, that would be you, a limited lines agent. If you hold a limited lines license, you may write job protection insurance, insurance on growing crops, any form of insurance for a farm mutual insurance company, personal auto insurance, which I believe is probably a lot of what you're going to do, other things, manufactured housing, prepaid legal, industrial fire, credit insurance, policies for a farm or mutual less than $50,000 in direct aggregate premium. Okay, so that might be important for your test. For a limited lines agent, you can write farm for a farm or mutual company less than 50 in direct aggregate premium, or industrial fire insurance policies that generated less than 20,000 in direct aggregate premium. Okay, so make sure you're on your test, you're going to associate for a limited lines licensee to sell farm mutual for a farm or mutual insurance company, it's less than 50,000 in premium, or if you want to sell industrial fire policies, less than 20,000 in premium. So make sure you separate those numbers out for your test. All right, a surplus line. Since insurance is primarily regulated by the states, the Department of Insurance is responsible for licensing and regulating insurers doing business in that state. However, authorized insurers are not usually willing to insure every risk. There are some risks, such as rare art collection, that may be too risky to meet the insurer's underwriting guidelines. Therefore, most states allow surplus lines companies to sell policies for unusual or high-risk items that licensed insurers cannot or will not insure. Surplus lines companies are not required to be licensed or regulated through the Texas Department of Insurance. However, agents are required to pass a special state examination to qualify for a surplus agent's license. Where can you buy this coverage? You can purchase surplus lines coverage through a licensed surplus lines agent. However, surplus lines agents can place risk with surplus lines insurers only after making a diligent effort to find a state licensed company to issue the policy. Surplus lines agents must hold either a general lines property and casualty agent license or a managing general agent license issued by Texas Department of Insurance. And they must have facilities necessary for accumulating and preserving the records that a surplus lines agent must keep. Not a big deal there. All right, here's stuff I want you to know for your test, though. Disciplinary actions, denial of a license. So you could have your license denied, suspended, or revoked if you willfully violate the insurance laws of the state. Don't go out and break laws. Intentionally made a material misstatement in the license application. If you said, hey, I'm not a felon, and you really are, that could be a problem. Obtained or attempted to obtain a license by fraud or misrepresentation, kind of the same thing as the last one. Misappropriated, converted to your own use, or illegally withheld money belonging to an insurer, an insured, enrollee, or beneficiary, has engaged in fraudulent or dishonest acts or practices. Material misrepresented the terms and conditions of an insurance policy or contract, which just means big lies. Made or issued a statement misrepresenting or making incomplete comparisons regarding the terms or conditions of an insurance annuity contract to induce the owner of the contract to forfeit or surrender the contract or allow it to lapse for the purpose of replacing it. That term, which might be on your test, I'm not sure if it's going to be. Actually, I don't think it's going to be on your test, so I'm not going to talk about it. We'll just keep going. Remember, they don't like felons, though. Okay, keep that in mind. There's another one you need to know. Offered or given a rebate of insurance premium or commission to an insured or enrollee. Okay, rebating is illegal. You cannot offer anything in exchange for a sale, like splitting your commissions with them, buying them tickets to the Super Bowl, giving them the keys to your lake house, giving them a job with your company. Okay, all those are no-nos. Rebating is illegal and it will get you in trouble. Obtained or attempted to obtain a license not for the purpose of holding the applicant or license holder out to the general public as an agent, but primarily for the purpose of soliciting, negotiating, procuring an insurance or annuity contract or membership covering the applicant or license holder, a member of the applicant or license holder's family, or a business associate. This is called, all three of these, and here's the term I want you to know, are called controlled business. Okay? Sale made to family members or business associates. Controlled business. Licenses are issued so you'll actually go out and solicit to the general public, not to just your family and friends. Now, if you do any of those bad things up there, you might get a cease and desist order, which have been issued by the Commissioner of Insurance, telling you to cease and desist what you are doing. It will contain the charges against the person, require the person to immediately stop doing those things. The Commissioner may issue a cease and desist order if an authorized person engaging in insurance business is committing an unfair method of competition or unfair or deceptive act or practice, or is in a hazardous financial condition. An authorized person is engaging in the business of insurance. An unauthorized person, I apologize. Or it appears to the Commissioner that the alleged conduct is fraudulent or hazardous, endangers public safety, or can cause significant, imminent, or irreparable public injury. A person affected by an emergency cease and desist order can contest the order by requesting a hearing, and this is important, within 30 days after receiving the order. So make sure you know that number for your test. Then, if they do contest it, a hearing must be set within 10 days after the date the commissioner receives the request, unless a later date is mutually agreed upon. So make sure you know on cease and desist, 2 numbers here. To contest it, you got to do it within 30 days. And then if you do contest it, they must set a hearing within 10 days unless both parties agree to a later date. Make sure you know those. Pending a hearing, the order continues in full force unless it is stayed by the commissioner. At the hearing, the commissioner affirms, modifies, or sets aside the emergency cease and desist order. Okay, so once again, really just 2 numbers there on the cease and desist. Now, you may be asked to surrender your license if you do any of those bad things. So the commissioner may take disciplinary action against a former licensee for conduct committed before the license was voluntarily surrendered or automatically forfeited. The surrender of an agent's license will not negate any offense they commit before the surrender's effective date. All right, suspension, revocation, or refusal to renew. The commissioner may suspend, revocate, or refuse to renew if you violate the Texas Insurance Code. Pretty common sense stuff along the way here, by the way, on this. Intentionally made any material misstatement in the license application, kind of gets back to the beginning here. Obtained the license by fraud or misrepresentation. Been guilty of fraudulent and dishonest practices. Material misrepresented the terms or conditions of a life insurance policy. Has made or issued a statement misrepresenting or making incomplete comparisons regarding the terms of a policy. Or to induce the owner to forfeit or surrender the contract. So this gets back, here's the term that I was talking about earlier. It may be on your test, the term twisting. What twisting is, and remember, it's a very specific form of misrepresentation or lying. You're lying about the benefits of the policy you're trying to sell them, so they will cancel theirs and take yours. Okay, so twisting is a very specific form of misrepresentation, so they'll surrender their policy and take yours. If you've been convicted of a felony, that could be a problem. If you've been guilty of rebating insurance premiums or commissions, that could be a problem. So once again, all those are things that can cause you problems. All right. Penalty for violating the Texas Insurance Code, the maximum fine, you need to know this number for your test. $25,000. That's for any of the agents that like to lie, cheat, steal, rebate, or a felon. They could be penalized up to $25,000. Now, you could get a temporary license. Well, you guys can't because we're going to make you take the test. Okay? But a temporary license can be issued if you are being considered for an appointment as an agent by another agent or insurer. A temporary license is good for 90 days. Okay, make sure you know the 90 days if you got a temporary license. And it may not be renewed by you more than once in any consecutive 6-month period. You are not required to pass an examination to get a temporary license. So make sure you know that 90 days. All right, next. The continuing education requirements in Texas are for you all with a limited lines license or county mutual license. You must do 10 hours of CE every 2 years. Make sure you know that. At least 2 of your hours must cover ethics, and only 5 hours may be of self-study. The other 5 have to be in a classroom or classroom equivalent. All that means in English is online. So really, all of your 10 hours can be done online. You don't have to go sit through a boring class. You can just get them all done online. Make sure you do get them done. It is your responsibility to retain certificates of course completion. In case of an audit by TDI, you must maintain CE completion certificates for at least 4 years. Make sure you know that CE records have to be kept for 4 years. That's the number that will be on your test. There is no grace period for obtaining the required CE hours, and this is important. Okay, not only for your test, but for real life. So there is no grace period. Once the license expiration date has passed, a violation exists if the required CE hours were not completed. You cannot make up or roll over CE credits after the expiration date. There is a $50 per credit hour fine for every hour CE you don't do. Now, you guys are lucky. You only have 10 hours to do, but that's still $500 they could fine you, okay? If you had a general lines license, it could be up to $2,400. So please $1,800 on that one. Make sure you get them done. State regulations. Your Commissioner of Insurance. Here's what I need you to know about the Commissioner of Insurance. He is appointed by the governor for a 2-year term ending February 1st of every odd numbered year. That's the main stuff on the commissioner. Commissioner must be competent, experienced business administrator, well informed about insurance regulation, had at least 10 years experience. This is a number you might need to know for the commissioner. As an executive in administration of business or government, as an attorney, as a CPA, and with at least 5 years of that experience in the field of insurance or insurance regulation. The commissioner must provide a $50,000 surety bond. Okay, so that might be a number that could be on your test, so the commissioner might have to have a $50,000 bond. The general powers and duties of the commissioner are: he administers, enforces, and carries out the provisions of the Texas Insurance Code and other applicable laws. So he administers, enforces all of the insurance laws. He does not write the insurance laws, though, so that might be on your test. He does not write the laws. Next thing the commissioner can do is, for insurance companies, he can issue what's called a certificate of authority. So an insurance company can't do business in the state unless they have a certificate of authority that has been issued from the Texas Department of Insurance. It's issued when the insurer has met the TDI's requirements, qualified to conduct insurance business in Texas. Prior to issuing a certificate of authority, an insurer must meet TDI's requirements regarding competence, fitness, and reputation of the insurer's officers and directors. If the commissioner denies or revokes a certificate of authority, the insurer is granted a hearing to review the matter no sooner than 10 days, nor later than 20 days after the decision. If I can get you to associate certificate of authority, here's the 2 words I want you to associate with that company being authorized or admitted. Okay, those 2 words I just need you to associate with the certificate of authority, that insurance company is authorized to do business in the state or admitted to do business in the state. That can help you answer a question. Financial requirements. Generally, insurers and HMOs submit an annual audit performed by a CPA. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay, none of that stuff matters. All right. Okay, this will be on your test, though. Examination of records. The department or the commissioner of insurance must examine the records of every insurer at least once every 5 years. Now, they can do it as often as they want, but they have to do it at least once every 5 years on examining insurance companies' records. Unfair claims settlement practices. These are things that insurance companies as well as agents should strive not to do when it comes to settling claims. Common sense is ruling the day when you answer these questions, by the way. So Texas insurance law offers protection to insurance consumers by prohibiting unfair claims settlement practices. Here are some of the things like misrepresenting to claimants material facts for policy provisions. That would just be lying. Not attempting in good faith to bring about prompt, fair, or equitable settlements when liability has become reasonably clear. Failing to settle claims promptly where liability has become reasonably clear. Failing to promptly provide a reasonable explanation regarding any policy provisions or law that caused a claim to be denied. or for the offer of a compromise to settle a claim. Failing, refusing, or unreasonably delaying a settlement offer because other coverage may be available or because third parties are responsible for the damages. I mean, if you've got an insurance policy with them, they got to cover you. Or refusing to pay a claim without conducting a reasonable investigation with respect to the claim. Once again, it's a lot of common sense stuff there, not overly worried about it. Agent regulation, acting without a license. You cannot solicit or write applications without holding a valid license. The following will be fined and barred from receiving a license for at least 5 years. Anyone who acts as a life accident health insurance agent without a license, once again, it's dummy. Anyone who solicits insurance without having or been appointed, duh. Anyone who acts as an agent for an insurance company that is not authorized to do business in Texas. And any representative of an insurance company who knowingly contracts or appoints as an agent a person who does not have a valid license. Once again, common sense stuff, you just got to have a license to sell insurance. All right. Next, we have some unfair trade practices. You cannot engage in any unfair trade practice that includes acts that are misleading, deceptive, or unfairly discriminatory. The Commissioner has the authority to investigate any alleged unfair trade practice and assess fines when warranted. So, for instance, misrepresentations, lies, you would go out and tell. So, unfair, to go out and lie about policy terms, benefits, or advantages. Misrepresent dividends or previously paid on a policy. Misrepresent the financial condition of a person in the insurance business, using a title of a policy or class policies that misrepresents the true nature of the policy. Misrepresent the legal reserve system, or make misrepresentation to induce a policyholder to lapse, forfeit, exchange, convert, or surrender a policy. Remember, that is called twisting, so let's make sure we know that term for our test. False advertising. It's illegal to publish, circulate, disseminate an advertisement about the insurance business or insurer that is untrue, deceptive, or misleading. Insurance advertisements include printed material, descriptive literature, sales aids, okay, anything prepared for sales talks, presentations, and material used by agents and brokers. So, some of the general advertising rules, once again, common sense. Advertisements must be truthful and not misleading. The format of a policy must be sufficiently complete and clear to avoid deception. The insurer's name must be stated in each of its advertisements. So you want to know the insurance company's name. Common sense. An advertisement may not use combination of words or symbols that are similar to any federal government agency or the state. Okay, so you cannot refer to the federal government in any advertisement. An advertisement may not imply coverage beyond the terms of the policy advertised. An advertisement cannot state a premium for a policy that does not apply to the exact coverage advertised. And if a premium is quoted in an advertisement that does not apply to all classes of risk solicited, the class to which it applies must be identified. Once again, pretty common sense stuff. All right, defamation, like defamation of character. That's any written or oral intended to injure a person or a business. It is unfair to defame. That will get you in trouble. Other things that can cause problems: boycotting, coercion, and intimidation. And false financial statements. The insurer may not file, publish, or circulate a false statement of its financial condition. All right, so once again, these are pretty common sense stuff. Unfair discrimination. So you got to understand unfair discrimination. Insurer may not make or permit unfair discrimination with respect to a life insurance or annuity contract when dealing with members of the same class and equal life expectancy in terms of premiums, rates, dividends, or benefits. Okay? So it is unfair to discriminate people of the same class. Rebates. Remember, rebating is illegal. To offer anything of value as an inducement to purchase an insurance contract, unless it is specified in the contract, which is really weird to me. It's illegal to offer any of the following to induce a person to purchase insurance: For instance, I'll give you back part of your premium once this policy gets issued. You cannot do that. Special favors or advantages in the dividends or other benefits of the contracts, valuable considerations, once again, cannot offer anything in exchange for a sale. All you can do is say thank you. It is also illegal to issue or deliver stock, bonds, or other securities in any corporation. Okay, once again, can't offer them stock in your company to buy a policy from you. The following are not considered to be illegal rebates. So paying dividends or bonuses out of surplus as long as the payments are fair to all policyholders. And I'm going to talk about dividends at the very end, so this will come back at the very end. Also, readjusting group premiums based on the group's loss or expense experience. That is not illegal. So you can readjust their premiums if they didn't have a whole lot of losses or claims in the prior year. Testimonials. Only thing I want you to know about a testimonial, used in an advertisement, it must be genuine, represent the opinion of the author. And if a person is compensated for a testimonial, it must be disclosed as a paid endorsement. Okay, so that's the words that'll help you answer a question over testimonials. That say that there is a paid endorsement. You know, that's small print down at the bottom always. They're getting paid. Controlled business. We saw this earlier. Controlled business can be defined as business written on the producer's own life or those of his or her family or employer. The commissioner will not grant or renew any license of an insurance producer if the license will primarily be used for the purpose of writing controlled business. However, the commissioner may not deny a license only because the applicant will act only part-time as an agent. Next is the Property Casualty Insurance Guarantee Association. If you can just associate this association with insurance companies that become insolvent. So if an insurance company becomes insolvent, this association is there for claimants and policyholders because that insurance company went belly up. So that's what the association is all about, is insurers becoming insolvent or going bankrupt. All right, so at the end of your book, I have your limited lines cheat sheet. Once again, it's just a recap, more in bulleted format for you with the important things that we have talked about over the last hour, hour and a half. And so I really, if you just kind of memorize this, and there's some good things down here, let me show you a couple things that I want you to know for your test. For instance, insurance companies are classified by their location of incorporation. Okay, so this is for insurers. So if an insurance company is incorporated in Texas and doing business here, it is a domestic insurer. If it is incorporated in another state but doing business here, it is a foreign insurer. If it is incorporated in another country but doing business here, it is an alien insurer. So make sure you know domestic is in state, foreign is out of state, alien is out of the country. Next, I want to talk about this right here, these stock and mutual companies. And so let me kind of lay it real quick, kind of draw out for you what I want you to know about stock insurance companies and mutual insurance companies. And this will kind of help make sense as far as maybe helping you answer a couple of questions on your test. Stock insurance companies are owned by the stockholders. Okay, so it's the stock. If you own stock in an insurance company, it's a stock insurance company, you're a part owner of that company. Stock insurance companies are called non-participating because the policyholders don't participate in the gains of the company. It's only the stockholders that do. So let's say, I'm going to use New York Life as a stock insurance company. I think they're actually a mutual, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to say they're a stock insurance company. If they have a good year, they will share part of their profit with their stockholders in the form of a dividend. So dividends, like if you own stock in any company and they have a dividend for you, that dividend is going to be taxable. Okay? So stock insurance companies owned by stockholders, dividends to those stockholders that are taxable. Also, you need to know that dividends are not guaranteed in a policy, because if they didn't have a good year, they might not have a dividend for the stockholders. All right? Now let's look at a mutual insurance company, like Mutual of Omaha, I hope you were going to say. Mutual of Omaha is called a participating insurance company, because if you have a policy with Mutual of Omaha, the policy holders are part owners of that company. So that if Mutual of Omaha, and they participate in the gains of Mutual of Omaha, so that if Mutual of Omaha has a good year, they will have a dividend for the policy holders. Once again, just like on our stock company, dividends are not guaranteed. Also, on your mutual companies, those dividends are not going to be taxable. And they're not taxable because they're just considered a return of any premium you had paid from that year before. So that, and I hopefully you write that down, the difference between a stock insurance company and a mutual insurance company, because once again, that'll help you answer 2 or 3 questions on your test along the way. All right. Let's see if there's anything else on here that is really important for you. We already talked about subrogation. We got to talk about there's twisting again. There's your hazards. And then here's your regulations down here. Once again, lots of numbers on your regulations would be good for you to just memorize a lot of those numbers. If you will spend time, and my recommendation to you is you got your book out, so you printed up the PDF, and once again, it's not very many pages. You watch the video, follow along, take notes along the way, things that I've written down along the way, re-highlight stuff. Then go to your exam simulator and do some practice exams. Get to where you're making an 80, 85 on that final practice exam in there. Go test within 3 days of making your last 80, 85. I guarantee you pass. If you don't, I'll pay for your next exam. That's my guarantee to you. Okay, it just takes work. And with this license, the limited lines license, it's all about memorization. It's not about insurance at all. Trust me. It is just about memorizing your numbers, knowing your bulleted definitions. Know them. Go test. Man, you're going to walk out with your passing grade. It's that easy. But if you don't put in the hard work, it isn't always that easy. But I know you, and I know you're going to put in some hard work and make that happen. So if you need any help along the way, you have any questions, you can contact me through my website. I've got my 800 number on there, my contact page. I've got an email. So let me know how I can help you. Now, with this license and preparing for this test, you should be able to go take this test now that you've purchased this, probably within a week. You need to get it done. Don't let it linger, all right? Let's get this thing done so that you can start making money, all right? So that's all I have for you right now. I am your partner in success. I am only successful if you're successful, and that is my promise to you. So good luck with everything. I know you're going to do great. If you need anything, please let me know. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. Have a great day.